My next guest on Founder FM took a $3,000 marketing budget and turned it into $1 million on the crowdfunding website Kickstarter. He wanted to raise $100,000, but he got 10x that amount and over 20,000 emails from wannabe customers who couldn't get enough of his product. In this interview, CEO and founder of Omate, a wearable technology company based out of China, Laurent LePen, shares his insights on how he crushed Kickstarter, how he raised $100K for 3% of his company, and how he's scaling the business through partnership. So let's go to Shenzhen, China to meet French entrepreneur Laurent LePen and take a journey into the world of wearable technology right here on Founder FM.
Founder FM. You're listening to Founder FM with your host, Graham Brown.
Hello and welcome to Founder FM, voice of the entrepreneur. My name's Graham Brown. Today, I want to introduce you to Laurent LePen, the CEO and founder of Omate, a wearable technology company based out of China. We're going to talk about turning an idea into a business. We're going to talk about turning a marketing budget of $3,000 into, well, over $1 million on Kickstarter. And we're going to talk about everything exciting in between in the world of wearable tech. So, welcome to the show, Laurent.
Hi, Graham.
Good to have you here. Let's talk about wearable tech first. So you've got 3 products out at the moment, which, well, they look fantastic. Let's talk about what they are. So can we describe what these wearable technology products are to the listeners? Starting off with your flagship product, the Rise.
Yes, the Rise. So it's our new flagship model. Indeed, it's what we call a Smartwatch 3.0. It's a combination of a companion, so Bluetooth tethered to your smartphone, and our specialty at Omate, the telecom side, where it can become a standalone device. So it's truly a 3G independent smartwatch through a nano SIM card. So that's the Rise, and it's a combination of what we learned from the technology side, our partnership over the last few years with fashion and jewelry brands. Great.
So we're going to talk about why that's really important as well. And also, you're a technology guy, you're an engineer, or with a marketing background, but you come from that side of the market and why that's important to recognize your strengths and weaknesses. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. And I want to share with the listeners the story of the True Smart, your first product that you got out there. They're going to love that. But before that, some backstory. You're French, an entrepreneur living in Shenzhen, China. How did that happen?
Well, that makes now 9 years. I live in Shenzhen. I was 25 when I moved there, freshly 25, right after Christmas. I spent the last Christmas with my parents and I moved to Shenzhen in late 2007. And actually I was actually moving from France because I got an opportunity from my company when the company got acquired to become manager in Shenzhen, strategic sourcing manager in charge of the mobile phone original design manufacturers. So that was kind of an upgrade and a new challenge, and I embraced it.
So did you know that you were going to go to China and stay there for 9 years plus? Was that part of the plan, or were you just going to go and see how it went?
Well, I always wanted actually to move to China for obscure reason, I don't know, but I wanted, because, when I got my master in international purchasing management, so it's about sourcing and so on. When I started working, all the job interviews, I was asking, do you have any team in China? And that really drove me to select that first job, because they had a team in China. I did not know Shenzhen, about Shenzhen, Shanghai, or Beijing, but I learned about it, and I'm very happy to make the move.
So when you moved to China, you were working for someone else. You had a few years in China doing that. And then there's this interesting part of your story where you saw this opportunity where there was this sort of development of smartwatch technology happening. This is very early on in the days of wearable technology, right? You saw an opportunity. You thought, well, this could become... Tell us a little bit about that.
Basically, we were back in 2013, yeah, it was definitely the very early days of the, what we call the wearables and the smartwatches. What happened is we had a background of telecom engineers, and one day the story is that we got like LG. We had this, LG is one of the supplier of the iPod Nano. If you remember, that's iPod Nano with a 1.5 inch display. And they came to us saying like, we have this stock of 100,000 units of, we can give you a good price if you want, but it was also at the same time where we were designing, it was at the same time the phablets, like this rhinos that we are all using, like the 5 inch and above. And we said that, wow, we are designing smartphones. We are R&D company designing smartphone. I don't know what I can do with that little display. And suddenly we say, okay, we got some samples and we connected it to one of our board. So on a very large smartphone board. And we saw this tiny, ridiculously small version of Android running on this small display. And that was definitely the moment we understood, wow, if we can do that, if we can reduce the size of this board, of this motherboard, this printed circuit board assembly, and we can make it with this display in a form factor of a watch, that would make like the first wearable version of Android on a wrist. So it would be an incredible smartwatch, and that was a year before even Google released Android Wear. So that was really innovative, yes, at that time.
Was there anything like that in the market at the time? I know you said there was no wearable Android, but what kind of products were out in the market at that time for you to sort of compare it to, or for your customers to compare that to?
Well, there was a company, I forgot the name, which we got acquired actually by Google. Back in 2012, there was another one we got acquired by Intel, which were doing also all of them, and Pebble also, of course. Pebble, a startup in Silicon Valley, all of them were doing smartwatches tethered by Bluetooth with a kind of monochrome or black and white displays. But us, we had like a full TFT, colorful display. It was we could put like a movie on it. The possibility were endless because it was like a mini smartphone on your wrist. So that's where the press and the interest of the community of the people interested in wearable at that time became huge on that device, because it was really different, really a big breakthrough compared to the other smartwatches.
Okay, so for the listeners, let's put this into context. You saw products in the making, you had an idea, you saw something that could really maybe open up a new market, you were working for somebody else. Did you immediately think, wow, I could take this and start my own company? Or did you think, okay, so we can run with this a little bit, let's go out and test it with a few customers? How did that sort of all happen? Tell us a little bit about the process of how that idea within that company then became the product.
Well, so when we got this very early prototype, I started pitching actually the president of the company I was working for at Umeox Mobile in Shenzhen. And I told him, I was very close to him. I was in part of the board. So I just told him, like, we should invest. We should build this prototype. And he was also doubtful about it. He said, if you want to run on it, if you want to run the project, you can go take it over and let's see what's the feedback of our customers. So we started a very early prototype. It was really what we call a prototype 0. So it's there is no plastics. There is just a kind of mock-up with some wires, etc. But that's the way we do in the ODM field, in the original design manufacturers. And we started pitching all our customers, and I was really taking the project seriously. And it failed. It really failed from our B2B side, from our business to business. We were like really having failures from in our discussion. Everyone was thinking like it's too early, or it's too crazy, or the battery life will be too low, etc. And so based on that, at that time we were calling it on our slides the Open Mate project, the Outdoor Mate project. We wanted to make this watch like rugged and so on. And then finally, I decided like no one wanted, but me, I really believe in it. So from OpenMate and OutdoorMate, we created OMate. And my CEO at that time at Umeox, I pitched him again. I said, listen, I want to launch that project. I believe there is a huge opportunity. And we made like a budget and was missing like about $100,000 to continue the process for the development. So he told me I'm okay to finance half of it and become like your co-founder or your. And I said, okay, let's do it. So I became the CEO of the company, registered the company, and a few months after we were on Kickstarter.
Right. So Kickstarter is a really important part of this story, and I think there's a story we have to share with the listeners. But before that, I think it's really interesting what you just said. You said that you'd gone out and pitched this idea to customers and everybody was telling you it's too crazy, it's too early, a number of reasons why people weren't interested. Why then did you think it was going to work? Well, I'm curious to know how you dealt with all that kind of criticism and feedback. At this time, you were then starting a company when you got a lot of negative feedback. Were people saying, hey, look, come on, be serious, this isn't going to work? Or what gave you the confidence to go and do this when people are saying this is not going to work?
Well, so first it's back to, we come from the business side. We are tech guys from the business side. So they were our customers, and some were prospects. So very large companies. Actually, they did not see this coming. And they did not believe in the project. So just some people as well did not believe in some operators. Did not believe in Apple. I remember back in the days at the beginning of the iPhone. And even in our company, some people were saying that this will fail or this will never pick up. They are not a mobile phone company, etc. So they were just doubtful about if they could sell under their brand. So maybe there was a mismatch also with their brands. Maybe too innovative or too breakthrough for them. So that's why and at that time I was not even thinking about pitching investors. I had no idea I didn't know any investors. I was totally not into this business. And, it's like, I'm used to say that there is a B2B for business to business, for enterprise business. You have the B2C for business to consumer. And after you have the B2VC. So business to venture capitalist. But I didn't know anything about business to VC. So we were like pure guys from the B2B side. We just decided to launch it under our own name.
Right. But you made a very interesting decision next, which I think made the company. You had what you describe as a marketing budget of $3,000, which is really nothing in the grand scheme of things, especially compared to what you've been used to. So how do you spend $3,000? Because I'm sure some people say, right, okay, $3,000, let's do some advertising, let's do some trade show. Well, you can't even get much for a trade show of $3,000, but you might get a pass or a ticket. But you took this $3,000. What did you decide to do with it next?
Well, we had our plan, so we made a budget. And because when we were 3 people in the team, so I was, the CEO is also the CMO, right. He's also, the CFO, and he's also the one putting the money. So that was my money. So I was just we knew that for Kickstarter, for crowdfunding, you had to make a video. So we wanted to make our video as good as possible, but our budget was, I set my budget at $3,000. So that was all about the video, actually. Mm-hmm. We had no ads. We did not know to run ads. One of our early employee colleagues started to make a very basic website. When I say basic, it was really basic. And we knew no one in the press. So we had budget for nothing. So the only budget was going to the video. And we found a team. We did it for $3,000. And there we go.
Right. So you didn't have any press contacts. You didn't know any investors. You didn't really even have a website going, just a basic one, right?
One page. Yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting because a lot of people would probably say, well, no, it's not the perfect moment to launch a business, right? But you then went ahead, you made this video for the crowdfunding website, Kickstarter. What was your goal with that? You went into Kickstarter. What were you hoping to achieve?
So our goal was 100,000 US dollar within 30 days. It was enough for us to make like what we call a pilot run. And actually when we posted it on Kickstarter, we achieved that amount in half a day. And everything from that point changed like crazy. Suddenly we got like a lot of emails. We got all the tech press were speaking about us, all the major ones that I was reading myself. I was speaking about me. So it was like, it was a no sleep moment for 30 days. And at the end of the campaign, we were just above over $1 million US.
Right. And that is one of the highest grossing Kickstarter campaigns. I think at the time it was like number 10 in the world, wasn't it? Or number 3 in the design category.
Yeah, at that time, it was not many. There are 100,000 projects, I think, which have been funded so far on Kickstarter. And I don't know, there are probably less than 1% or probably much less that will achieve over $1 million US.
How did it feel that day one when you launched and you started seeing the money coming in? Because that must have blown you away in terms of your expectations. You weren't expecting to get that much in half a day, right?
Yeah, I was inviting all the team for involved, even also the video editors. We did the video, so we had a dinner, and it was at 10 p.m. at the launch in Shenzhen. And we were seeing like in 5 minutes we had like maybe $5,000. It was like, wow, that's crazy that people are. And that was not the most, it was not much about the money, it was also the comments, because every comments on Kickstarter was linked to my email. And today, I think there are 23,000 or over 20,000 comments. So that means I received 20,000 emails. So that was crazy. I can tell you that when you receive 20,000 emails, it's really, you get very busy.
That's amazing. I'm going to ask you why you thought it was so successful as a campaign. But before that, I think it's important for people to understand as well, Kickstarter is not just about raising money. That 20,000 comments is really important, isn't it? Because you're already building out your market, aren't you? You're already building out your fans, so to speak, people who are going to take this product on, even at a risk, really, for them.
Well, yes, it's a community. So what happened is like our goal really was our goal was to be break even on that. So our goal was very clear we wanted to make our community happy about the project, extra, to avoid any delays, because we know that was the worst things. But when you get the 10x what you expected, of course, our goal was to ship the first one. There were several versions. So the first one in December, the other one in March, if I remember. So that doesn't really matter. The first one, the first backer who received his product, we were probably 1 month late. But after what I learned is that your campaign doesn't end at the end of your 30 days. Your campaign ends when your last backer will receive his product.
Right.
So that means we were late 6 months for that guy, for that backer. So for actually 6 months, we were 6 months plus 30 days. So for 7 months, we were really we were still in campaign. And that's what people forget. I mean, people can make this mistake in crowdfunding, is to think like, okay, super, I got this $1 million. So first, it's not your money. You have to ship this product to these people. And really, like from the first day you are late, people starting getting very, excited, and more, you feel the pressure big time. So, but we did pretty good. I mean, we shipped all of them after 6 months for the last one. Yeah, we did pretty well. I mean, we learned a lot of things.
Were you actively talking to the people then after the campaign, so to speak, the 30-day campaign, the people who had ordered your product? Were you communicating with them? What were you
Oh
doing?
yeah, of course. You see, like crowdfunding, people get a very good price usually. You give them so they are like really, they get a very good. They are the first to receive the product in the world. Second, they have a very good price. And third, they have almost direct contact with you, with the founders or with the management team. So it really, like people, they were like, I was chatting with them on Google Plus, on Facebook, and met some of them in some exhibition, etc. It's really impressive. It's like a family. It's a real community.
Right. Yeah, because they feel part of the journey as well, don't they? They feel that they're coming along with you. It's not sort of like they're a buyer and you're a seller. You're in this together. You're like partners growing this thing together, and they're helping you get started.
Yes, and no, because right now I'm still in campaign because we launched Indiegogo, which is a competitor for the platform of Kickstarter. Very quickly said, hey, if you launch another product, we should do it together. So for a year, I said we are not. We launched several products through our own pre-orders on our website. But for our newest product, the Rise, in December, actually, we launched it with Indiegogo. So what happened for the second campaign, I really changed the way so first we did something really crazy. We did a 2-day campaign. So 2-day, no one else did that. Right. I did a 2-day to give the opportunity to someone to make a 1-day campaign. But 2 days was just to show, because we had only 1,000 limited edition, and we believed like these 1,000 units, we could sell them in 2 days. And I really wanted this time to get only the best. That means only the best of the community. That means really the core fan. Because the one, for 30 days, who at the end of the campaign, what I mean is at the end of the campaign, you have the people who look at the campaign and they will buy it while it was not for them. That means in a way, like you will attract the last few days some people which were out of your core communities that you targeted. So they are still your backers, they are still your VIP, they are still your customers, but they are almost out of your targeted community. The real fan, they are there at the very beginning, and they will be there for your next product extra. So that's why I did this 2-day campaign, and now I'm actually shipping. So I'm still shipping. So I'm still in campaign.
That's very interesting. Why do you think your first campaign, well, this one as well, your second campaign was so successful? Why did you 10x the first Kickstarter campaign?
There is the market factor, but also what is important so we had no marketing budget, but at least on the first day, what happened on the first day, because we achieved our goal in half a day. So the press got this news, and suddenly it's like snowball effect. Then you get like into we went up to CNBC and we went to the TV, So it has been, and now you see we are with you, so we are really doing awesome, So we are like growing through the media, and I mean we were like it's a snowball effect. It started with one, and after it grow. But also people check who you are. You are the person holding this project. They check the creator of the project, and they would check your LinkedIn, they would check your Twitter, they would check especially LinkedIn. I would say they would check everything online. They would check who is that person? Is he legitimate in what he is doing? And people actually, they could believe my experience because I was coming from the mobile phone design industry, and I had recommendations and from the industry. So I was unknown from the public, from the consumers. But in the mobile phone world, I was not unknown person, at least at my scale, but I was not unknown in this small community of mobile phone design makers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's a very good point. We talk about technology and people buying technology, but ultimately it's the people behind the technology that people buy into, isn't it? And if you are a technologist or a marketer or an engineer, it's easy to hide behind the app or hide behind the computer screen. But, the most successful technologies, you take an example like Apple, how important was it that Steve Jobs' story became the Apple story as well? Your story is an important part of the OMate story, right? Because people can identify with you, identify with your values, what you're trying to achieve. so on and so on.
Yeah, the legitimacy of the funder for a crowdfunding, for anyone who wants to launch a project, a product. If, for example, from my side, if they were checking my LinkedIn and they were seeing that for the last 8 years at that time or 7 years, I was working in the shoe industry or in the food industry,
right,
they would have said, where is the legitimacy for that guy to really deliver an Android smart wearable? I would have got no credibility. So as they could see that I have been working in that tech field for several years, and I had the right connection and they could feel that it was more like it was a legitimate project,
right,
held by a legitimate person. Mm-hmm. And that's very important. I always tell that for people who want to launch a crowdfunding campaign.
It's also a key strength, isn't it? Because there's a lot of faceless technology brands now in the market, isn't there? Especially if you think about China, with the exception of people like the Xiaomi's and so on, who have some kind of face in foreign markets. But there's so many faceless brands pushing technology that people don't know who these people are and so on. But you come along and, pretty honest, people can understand your background and so on. I think that must have really helped the Kickstarter campaign.
Yes, and especially from my side, when you speak about these companies, sometimes, well, for example, big brands, because what does an original design manufacturer, it's very hard because you design all the hardware, the software. That means all the R&D is designed by yourself, but you are selling to a brand who will put his brand name on it, and we will do all the marketing and we will sell it because their brand is stronger than you, and they will never want you to speak about that. They will never want you to say that they work with you. So the ODM, what we call the ODM field, is very tough. It's not fun. It's good for the factory and so on. But I was a bit fed up about that business, where my team and myself, who were very legitimate in our field, we had very good product in the market, and actually we were doing everything. So now it was time for us to build a brand.
Mm. Well, let's talk about how you scale a brand like that and what happened next. So you've had these successful crowdfunding campaigns. You then take this decision to enter an accelerator. So you then become part of 500 startups. So people may look at that and say, why did you do that? You were creating your products, you had customers, you had revenues. Why would you then go and work with an accelerator? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so first 500 Startups is one of the top VC, and they also is first venture capitalist fund. And also they have this accelerator program where they take some startups. I mean, the most successful startups they find in the world can get into it. So it's very elitist a bit. They receive like probably thousands of applications. So from Homemade side, we did not apply. Honestly, I did not know much about all of that, but I got the opportunity to meet Ruema, who is at that time in charge of China market. And she asked to meet with me. So I said, yeah, sure, let's meet. And we had a coffee, and she just told me, do you need money? Would you be interested are you looking for money, for investment money? Because we are interested in investing in wearables and IoT companies. They say, well, we were already like profitable. So I was like a bit doubtful of what they could bring. And then she told me, like, what is the background of the team? No, you grew a team from 3. No, at that time we were like 15. And then I explained, here we have our hardware engineers, or software, or mechanical design engineers. And she told me, if you want, we could invest in you, and you could bring some of your key engineers and go to Silicon Valley for a few months, and you could have like some training and things like that. You could learn some things, and you would be part of the family also, of the 500 startup family. And then I really took it as a way, like, yeah, it's great. I get money, investment money, and it's cheaper than paying an MBA to 5 of my employees. So I took some of my colleagues, and we went there, and it's great. I mean, it's an amazing community of startups coming from different fields. They are top-rated startup investor in the world. So. And it opens doors in the Silicon Valley, but also it's one of the rare VC which really invest really worldwide for real. So at that time, we were Hong Kong-based and Shenzhen company, and that allowed us to open Omate Inc. In the Silicon Valley in Mountain View.
That was a great deal for you as well, because their contact network is fantastic for a company like yours. Let's talk about how you're focusing on these kind of arrangements, these partnerships to grow your business, because that seems to be a key part of what you're doing, not just with people like 500 startups, but also fashion brands and so on. What's the idea? What's the strategy there in terms of growing Omate?
So that's a key point. Definitely, it's when back in 2013, and after all this, press and business success, let's say, we were, after a year, we were like a one product company, and we were a very geeky, techie product. Actually, it was a really engineering product and made by engineers for engineers. It was a really geek product, the True Smart. And we recognize it. We did it this way. But then we got many emails from people coming from the jewelry industry, from the watch industry. And step by step, we were meeting them, and we got the chance to get introduced to the world's largest jewelry manufacturer and distributor, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company, Richline Group. And then they told us, we will be interested in using your technology, but to design more refined watches. The first one would be for ladies, and another one for maybe a teenager, and another one more stylish. So I really love the idea of this module, and we were working on that. So we worked with them. We learned a lot from both sides. They learned from the tech, and us, we learned from the jewelry side. So all the blend of that make like a product which brings the aesthetics and the functionality. So at that time, our motto, we launched this sentence which became our motto, is like, technology is what you carry, but fashion is what you wear. And it's so true. If you look back at all the very first smartwatches, even from the big tier 1 companies in the world, their first smartwatches, or the first wearable, were very engineering driven, but without any taste for fashion. And suddenly this changed totally. Now, today the wearables are much more beautiful. So, and on the partnership side, we understood also something very important from our side, is that we were a pure wearable technology, Internet of Things, a really engineering background. We were a tech company at Omate, and we were neither jewelry nor fashion nor a watch company. We're not nothing of that. We were really like the technology inside. So we were only legitimate, again, the legitimacy comeback is like we were only legitimate on that. And therefore, the best way to design some great products is to team up with people which are legitimate in their own field. So it started with jewelry. We did a haute couture fashion house like Emmanuel Ungaro, and some location-based services, for example, for our kid and senior product right now, etc. Actually, and that allow us to opens up opportunities in totally different fields. And that means we are not in the sport field or in the fashion. We can do everything because we are a tech company. So for us, the best way is to team up with people legitimate in their own field.
I think that's a really smart part of your strategy, and it really, that teaming up with people who are leaders in their own field. I think what you've done successfully in your history throughout growing Omate is you've recognized your strengths and weaknesses. So you understand that you're really good at the technology side, but you're not a fashion brand, and you don't know the fashion industry as well as these guys, right? And you could be more like them, but would that be the best use of your strength? And I think that allows you then to focus, doesn't it, on exactly who you are and what you bring to the table. And as you say, learn, because you can learn about their business as much as you learn directly from a venture capitalist. You can learn from a fashion brand and so on. So it's been a really interesting journey for you. Do you think, looking back, when you started out with Omate, you could have seen all of this? Was this how you expected it to go, or has it been completely different?
Yeah, that's interesting. If I could, no, I mean, I could not expect anything. We are experimenting many things, but at least, as you mentioned, we are learning. We are really in this learning curve, and we experiment. It's like we have some helium balloon, and some are growing high, and some are exploded midway. But it's very interesting to learn, and after we are driven with what we call, which is very common it's an engineering methodology, like the PDCA, plan, do, check, act, and repeat. So that means we plan something, we check if everything goes wrong, we check how we can change that, or we can improve, and then we act accordingly. And this is very important because that makes us become it's part of a continuous improvement, and it can really bring back the focus of where we are good at, and to focus on that rather than focusing on trying very hard to be good at where we are not.
Interesting. Is that something that you always were good at, or have you refined that process, that methodology through OMATE?
Yeah, it's part from our past experience. That's definitely also a project methodology, So the PDCA, plan to check act is used in the engineering field in many fields. Definitely, that helped us to understand what we could try, and then to improve accordingly, and then to focus.
Fantastic. Okay, so there's this young Laurent. Let's say he's 20 years old. He's living somewhere in France, and he has an idea for an app, or could be some wearable technology, or could be something completely unrelated. But he has an idea for a product or a business. He's working for somewhere else. He could be working for a mobile company. He could be working for a bank. He's an employee, but he's so set. He's so passionate about this idea. He works on it in the evening. He works on it at the weekend. What does he do? What would you advise him? If you could sit down and have 5 minutes with him and you could offer him some kind of advice, what would you say to him?
Well, I will probably write, make a SWOT analysis, what is your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities and the threats, both internal and external. So what is market? So I will make a big marketing analysis of his idea to better understand where he's good at. And after, what I will tell him, okay, you are good at that. Then you need to find your co-founder, who is good at that, these parts you are not good at. So that's super important to find the team, to build a team with people who are good at things you are not good at, and who are also passionate about what they are doing, and the whole idea, passionate by the whole idea, but also excited about what they are doing on a daily basis. So I do the same with our hardware engineers. Today we are 20 today, plus a few summer interns, because we have some summer interns visiting us in Shenzhen, and it's always exciting. It's always fun. And I tell them the same. I say, on what you will focus on this project. I tell them which project you want to work on. What are you good at? And then have fun. I mean, we are staying in office a lot of time. So have fun in what you are doing.
Exactly. And also, if they don't want to start their own business, or they're maybe not confident enough, I think one of the best pieces of advice I've heard is go and work for a company like yours, where they can get that kind of opportunity to work in an entrepreneurial environment and learn from people like you, learn from people, in your team and so on. So, for somebody younger, even if they don't want to start their own business, they should go and find a company that will give them that kind of culture and environment and allow them to learn, right? So
yes, and build your network. Find your mentors. Find the guy. You will not call it a mentor. You will call it he will be a colleague that you respect. He will be a colleague that you or someone in the company that you feel, oh, that guy is doing good and he has a good mindset and I like what he's doing. I got so lucky in my career before. I got to meet like people like, the people, for example, the person, Johnny Otema, is the person who brought me to China. Without him, he was the director of the sourcing at Ceylon, and I asked him, like, I had this opportunity, and he is the guy who made me come to Shenzhen. Without him, if he said no, I would not be there today. I would be doing totally something different. So there are many other people in my life, like Jack, the CEO of Humeox, Jack Shao, who has been also someone who is still today someone very important in my life. So you need to find like these people, like the people who will like be your kind of mentors.
Yeah, great advice. And you are now one of them, right? I guess for a new generation of entrepreneurs coming through.
I mean, I try to attend, all this. So in my team, hopefully is good. Is doing pretty well right now. So, but I try to attend all this in Shenzhen. We have this startup grind. We have startup salad, which are like some events for entrepreneurs. So yeah, I'm part of all of this, and I try to share as much as I can what I learned.
Well, what you've learned and what you've shared today has been fantastic. I think your story is an inspiration, Laurent, and I really appreciate you coming on and sharing it with us today. Where do we find out more about you? What website would you point us towards?
So omate.com, that's probably the first one, but you can add me on Twitter, LLEPN. That's where I share more about the industry or things. You can also email me. I'm very easy. It's Laurent, Laurent @omate.com. And if you need anything, you can email me about crowdfunding, about I have a presentation about the do and don'ts. That's at least what I learned. So happy to share.
Fantastic. Wow. There you go. That's Laurent LePen, everybody, CEO and founder of Omate. And I think these guys are going places. We need to watch them carefully because, we don't know what the next 12, 24 months is going to be like, but these guys are certainly going to be turning out some interesting projects. So keep an eye on them and connect with Laurent as well. So we'll put the details in the show notes so you can do that. Laurent, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show today and sharing your journey and experience with us today. Thank you very much. And please come back in the future and give us an update on how things are going with Omate.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.
Founder FM, voice of the entrepreneur. Find out more at www.founderfm.com.